Hello, world. Welcome to Rex Arthur TV, Rex Arthur Show. This is the LGBTQ channel with that discusses LGBTQ issues with an LGBTQ approach and in an LGBTQ planet and a humanistic approach. So you have to understand that we are now in an LGBTQ planet. So why say that? It is because most people think that we are only in a straight planet, and that's not true. We are in an LGBTQ planet because in every population, every nation, there is an LGBTQ population, and that's why it's an LGBTQ planet. No matter how few um, LGBTQ persons are, it's still an LGBTQ planet. And I've told you the straight people, as I've always kept on saying, what our work now is, and my work personally, let me talk for myself. My work personally now is to talk to straight people about gay people. And by doing that, straight people will become allies because most straight people have the big lies and myths that gay people recruit. They don't recruit people, they can't. And what you have to do is understand that a straight person should be an ally. So their job is to understand gay people and not to, and gay people are not making noise to make people gay. These are very weird things being said there in the public by people. So that's why we do videos, to tell people who we are and to tell them that all we ask for is tolerance and acceptance. I mean, people may have problems with gay people having pride, and there's nothing wrong with pride. I mean, if you want to walk out and show people who you are, that you're happy being who you are, that's your choice. It's called freedom of expression. It is constitutional. It's in the constitution. All constitutions of the world, unless you're a country that doesn't, all actually. There is now no country that has a constitution that doesn't recognize the freedom of expression. They recognize it, and you're free. Same to freedom of association. You are free to be part of any association. Reason being, associations are natural. Reason being, expression is natural. Reason being, movement is natural. You see, and this video, what's the point of this video? We're going to do it under the river of thought, love of Fikir, because the world is in a time, in a very precarious time. As you can see, a lot of things are happening, confusion everywhere. And it's the transition to the Aquarian age. For those of you who study astrology and cosmology, we are transiting, we are moving. The world, or most of the world, is moving to the Aquarian age from the Piscean age. Now, of course, not everybody believes in those astrological time zones, but I personally, I have no problem with them. I like them because it's understandable, because the world is, I mean, 2,000 years ago, the world was very backward. It was religious. It didn't know science. It didn't know everything. So now, 2,000 years later, the world is now very scientific and is getting less and less religious. So, or even if they are religious, they are also becoming, you can be religious and scientific, but the thing that has changed in the world is that people are now giving science more and more preeminence, which is very good. But the number is not that big. It's increasing, but at a slow rate. Now the problem with that is that technology has already entered the Aquarian age. Because what does it mean to go to the Aquarian age? The Aquarian age is supposed to, it means that we'll enter into a more progressive and more scientific age where will be doing a lot of things knowledge wise. And of course, the reason why some people don't believe in that, there are some people who don't believe in that Aquarian age issue, is because it's like, duh, we we will, of course, as long as there is peace in the world, we will progress, we will always get better and better. But those who believe in the Aquarian age, which is not wrong, it's not wrong to believe in it, it's not wrong to think that the world, the ages we are in, and so the world is entering the Aquarian age. The fact is, the Piscean age was actually one where there was less science and more religion. And now we have entered an age where we are using science. I was telling somebody that, guess what? How many religious people use scientific things? Very many. Of course, not every religious group, because there are some religious groups that feel science is anti-religion. So their response is, don't use technology at all. And guess what? It's their freedom of expression. Nobody's going to stop them. But the fact is, most of the world is already science based. Look at the governments of the world. In the 2000 years ago, the governments of the world were not collecting data. Very little data. Now, 2000 years later, data is what controls government. That's what we have today, the knowledge economies. They cannot run without data. That everything is about to know. You need to know what is happening to the people. You need to know what's happening in the country for you to make policies. In the past, people used to make policies. That's why there were more kingdoms in the past than there are today. Reason being, kingdoms do not necessarily need data. They need loyalty. You know, you have to be loyal to the king. That's all. There's nothing like that the king does not collect data. You know, he rules. So he rules. He tells people what to do. He tells people what he wants, and that's how the people are controlled. In fact, the easiest political system in the world is a kingdom. Reason being, the law only comes from one person. A pure monarchy, the law comes from one person. And most religions are monarchical, they are kingdom based. That's why the Bible has the kingdom of God, you know, and the kingdom of Satan, the kingdom of light and the kingdom of darkness. These are kingdoms, you know, so people they are loyal to the leader, and that's all. And if you're loyal, life goes on well. Have you watched? I mean, look at the kingdoms we have today in the world. They are very peaceful. They really pure kingdoms, the pure monarchies. Yes, the ones that are mixed, you know why they have some issues? It's because Britain is a mixed monarchy, but it's still peaceful. It's still peaceful because there is one person ruling. Look at the Catholic Church. It's a monarchy because the king is the Pope. And it's peaceful because he's the only one who has the final say in anything. Only one person. And when that person speaks, everybody has to listen. And it goes on. But in the non-kingdom systems, which have been, those are systems that are not Piscean, you know, they are Aquarian, because people now have believed, democracy is the belief that one person does not necessarily have answers to everything. So we come and sit together and we exchange ideas how to solve problems. That's what democracy is all about. And it came about because people felt maybe monarchy was not the best system. So democracy came. One thing you need to know, most when they have the democracy, it was about the best idea. But guess what? It's also a democracy is also an indirect monarchy, because the best party, the idea that wins has to win the most votes. So basically, that's still a monarchical system, because one idea will take the day. Out of 500 ideas, one idea will take the day. And it will take the day. It's because of democracy, it's because of the number of votes for it. So that's the problem we're facing right now, is that we are, in my view, I believe we are entering, or what I'm saying, what I can say is that we are becoming more scientific. And the more scientific people become, the more the policies will become scientific. The more the way we do things in the world will become scientific. The more religious we become, and when I mean religious, religion that is minus science, because today you can actually be religious and scientific. Yes, you can. You can be a Muslim, but you're a scientific person. But guess what? It is science that leads you, not your Islam. I've been telling people that, contrary to what people think, that there's a war between religion and science, which is what the whole Aquarian and Piscean age war is. It's that religion, which belongs to Pisces, is fighting Aquarius, the Aquarian age, which is a scientific age. There is really no war. That's what I. That's now where I can side with people who don't believe in the Aquarian, in the transition, because there are people. These are today we are doing philosophy under River of Thought, Love of Fikir. So that's why philosophers, you twist. It's like a prism. You take every side. So there's a reason why that thing doesn't make sense, because there is really no war between religion and science. Actually, religion is a servant of science, because and science. What's science? I did a video in my philosophy channel, querying science, theology, philosophy, and spirituality, and it was entitled "Science is Truth." So, if science is truth and religion seeks truth, it seeks truth. What does that mean? Religion seeks science. That is it. And science is helping us understand, most importantly, sexual science. That's the most important thing science has done this century and the last century. It has opened our eyes about sexual science. It has opened our eyes about diseases. The way humans have understood diseases now, it has never been seen in the world since humanity existed. If this knowledge of diseases was with human beings 4,000 years ago, the knowledge of today, my friend, the world would have 100 billion people today. 100 billion people. Why? Because the science of today has helped humans survive. Today, the mortality rate is low, reason being, like infant mortality is lowering, is going down. Reason being, there is science. People now understand how to keep a child alive. And the life expectancy rate is increasing because we now have better medicines, better ways of detecting diseases than in the past. Can you imagine 60 years ago, people could not detect cancer at all. 60 years ago, people could not detect HIV at all. Now, you can detect it as early as even 1 month of infection or cancer. These days, look at Angelina Jolie. Her mother had a very weird cancer strain. And when she went for genetic testing, they told her, you have the same genetic strain, which means you are going to get the cancer she had. And she had to chop off her breasts. And it happened. She was right to do that, because it was a fact. It was going to happen. It was in her code, genetic code. Had genetic science not been found, Angelina Jolie would have got the breast cancer, very rare and very virulent breast cancer, and died. Right now, she'd be dead. And look at Stephen Hawking, the greatest sign that science is super. He was supposed to die when he was 22. But because of science, he survived for 50 years. 50 years and plus, he survived. Reason? There was science. But had he got the condition 50 years ago, he would have been dead. So what am I trying to say is that science has increased the life expectancy rate. I mean, go and look at Africa right now. The life expectancy rate of the past, when HIV was ravaging Africa, has increased now because HIV has been managed. So what does this mean? The population, the old population is still going to live, and the young population is increasing because when parents are now alive, heterosexuals, the mostly heterosexuals, because even homosexuals can be parents. When the parents are now alive, it means they can have more children. That's why the youth population in Africa has gone up. It's because the HIV management of the disease and the condition rather has been is improving. So more people are alive and more people are able to reproduce, and that's why the youth population has bulged. Look at Uganda, 60% are less than 20. Why? If you minus 20 years old, that was the beginning Uganda was using HIV medication. So what does that mean? The families are now adhering to medication, and so people are living longer and they're able to have children, and they have now had many children. Otherwise, if they didn't have the medication, they would have died to the extent that they are not able to reproduce, and then the population wouldn't grow, and there would be no youth bulge like what's happened in Africa. So why has that happened? It's science. Science has really helped everybody, and it's going to continue. That's the nature of science. It's truth. You see, science will tell you what fire is, and when you know what fire is, you will never touch it again, or you'll know how to use it. That's the beauty of science. That's what I'm saying. There's really no war. The beauty of philosophy is that you you revise many notions and many views. So, like, even when I started reading about the Aquarian age or the Piscean age versus the Aquarian age, I had to ask myself questions. What's going to happen to people who are religious and scientific? Do you know you can be scientific and religious? Yes, and that has not been addressed by the Aquarian age, the transition to the Aquarian age. Because if it was to be taken strictly that we are going to the Aquarian age, then it means religious people will have to die. All of them have to die, and then only those who are Aquarian will survive in the Aquarian age. That's what it means. But that's not true. I mean, scientists also die, and Aquarians also die, people who are more scientific prone. It's not really true that the when we are transiting to the Aquarian age, people will forget religion. But what it means is that there'll be more emphasis. It just means that more emphasis on science rather than religion. People are going to really think about science, and that's what's going to happen. It's already happened. You have churches that now allow gay clergy. Churches, the Catholic Church is already saying they are ready for female priests. Yes, it's now a discussion. Can you imagine in the Vatican? It was sacrilege to talk about women priests in the Catholic Church 1,000 years ago. It was sacrilege. Today, it is discussion and it's in a happy mood. They are now willing to have male priests. Reason? Because of science. Science has shown the churches and religious people that women can also serve. I mean, the menstruation is part of life. So that should not be something that stops a woman from serving as a priest. Secondly, the world is 51% women, meaning if this trend continues, there'll be more women in church, de facto, more women in church than men. So it will mean women need to serve women to reduce any problems that can come about because of men serving women as priests. That's what's going to happen. And it's already seen in the evangelical churches and others there. Now you have women pastors, you have all of this, and it's a population. Most of the people in church are women. So what's going to happen? You'd rather put a person who understands that human to talk to them. And that's what's happening. Women pastors are now increasing, even though male pastors can also lead women. But the fact is, now women are they are more and they are reading. So you'll give them the chance. So that's what has happened because of science. And science has shown us that women are also similar to men, much as they have differences. As I said in the other video, or I always say, we're all intersexual. Some are more intersexual than others. So you find some women have testosterone, more than testosterone than a man. Those are women who want to do things. They are very active and they want to do something. So what do? Give them a job. Don't say because you're a woman you can't work. No, give her a job and she can do the same. So that's what has happened in this age. And guess what? This is just the year 2018. 2100, it will the world will be different and more better. Of course, we could say we don't know. Maybe the world would like more, will have more war, but I highly doubt that. Reason being, if there's a war to happen, it is to happen either now, around now, like what's happening with the Iran sanctions and America. Smell something. The world wants to put war aside because North Korea, it's done. It will never, as far as I know, I don't want to say never, but it won't go to war. It won't succumb to war. Reason being, Kim Jong Un has studied the price of war. War is destructive. Have you seen North Korea? It's very well developed, despite their poverty. Despite their poverty, it is well developed. So what does that mean? That means it is only a mad person who will go to war and destroy all that effort. The easiest place to fight is in the forest and in the desert because there is nothing to destroy other than yourselves. It is even in the war books, they don't allow you to fight where there are buildings because that's where people are. People are working. I mean, imagine if it is time for war between America and Iran, and then it says the war field is going to be where people are going to the office. It's ridiculous. It's like, are you serious? Even football is not played in the city streets. There's a pitch for football, and that's the same to war. There's what you call the war field, the battlefield. People go and size each other at the battlefield. They don't go and fight in the streets. If you fight in the streets, that's what you had terrorism. The terrorists, that's the strategy they had. They were bringing war to the city streets where people were beaten in the battlefield. America was dealing with the Taliban in the open fields of Afghanistan, or America when Syrian war was happening. The Raqqa and all of these regions in Syria. There's a lot of space, so that is where they were fighting. And even look at ISIS. They used cities. They were in Raqqa, and they took hostage a whole city. Why? They were using the city as a shield. Not only they even improved. They went higher. Not only were they using humans as human shields, they were using the city as a shield, so that the enemies or the America and Russia couldn't find them. And this is the reason why America and Russia, they bombed Raqqa beyond the recognition, because you can't find the people. They are not in the battlefield. That's what has happened. So even war has transformed in this age because of science. People are becoming military science. It has become more advanced. I mean, look at the cyber war that happened in America when Russia was accused of interfering in the American election. Did you see Russians fly there? That they flew there and they just became voters? No, it was just with the computer. That's all. Just in the computer, and they affected the election. So what does that mean? War or military science has advanced. It has advanced and is still advancing. No bloodshed. Did you see people die in the American election? That there was war between Russia and America, but there was war. It was cyber, but nobody died. Nobody died because of the war. It was just a cyber war. Now imagine types of wars like that. If if you have a war where there's no bloodshed, no destruction of the city, but it affects the country's politics in such a way that the country is changed without a bullet. You see how powerful people are becoming because of science. Yes, computer science, military science, all of these sciences we have. And biological warfare, all of these things. Even biological warfare now is old. Is old because people now know how diseases are got. We know the human body. Like 300 years ago, nobody knew that the body was made up of genes or DNA. Now we know. So that's the life we're in. So I'm watching the ages, but I would advise you, please spend time reading science. It is what's going to make you understand the world, and you will go higher because knowledge is power and knowledge is science. So science is power. Go get science. Read on, and read on.